but the story probably is a Goodison Park one rather than a St Mary's one, bearing in mind the Everton board were warned beforehand not to attend because of threats to their security. Yerry Mina and Anthony Gordon ended up getting involved with fans. It all looked very unseemly, Kevin.
Yeah, it's a toxic atmosphere, no doubt about that. I think fans have been dismayed for some time about the direction the club has gone in. That said, I think some of the behaviour we have seen in terms of fans confronting players is completely unacceptable. If there are credible threats to the board, that is also wildly unacceptable and so far beyond the way fans should behave. Yes, we want passion. Of course we do. We're all passionate about our football clubs. And, if fans have a right to protest, it's about that line. And if you cross that line, then you should be censured for that. They have misspent money. There's no doubt about that. There's been a real lack of footballing infrastructure there in terms of recruitment. But the amount of stick that somebody like Bill Kenwright gets, and I understand that he's the kind of lightning rod for a lot of this. I wonder if it's a bit misplaced, to be honest. There's a guy who clearly cares passionately about the football club and has done for a long time. And so, yeah, it is all very, very concerning at the moment.
Yeah, I know what you mean, and I completely understand that there is certain lines that you cannot cross. But I wonder whether or not Everton, as a football club, and I'm talking about the hierarchy here, not Frank, not his team, not the players. I wonder whether the club have actually handled this incredibly badly. Not only mismanaging the football club and to the point where they've got literally no money. We had an Everton fan on Saturday on the game day warm-up. It was talking about how they needed to bring in this player or that player in the January transfer window. And I was screaming, they've got no money. And even if they had any money, they couldn't spend it because of FFP. So they cannot bring players in, or if they can bring them in, they can bring in one or two on loan on a low wage because they're so close to the line of breaching FFP that it's impossible for them. But the board aren't communicating properly. Moshiri come on talkSPORT the other week, and he gave a lot of platitudes and he spoke a lot about what he wanted to do and pleading for patience and understanding. But the truth is that by not attending the game on Saturday, they diverted the attention back onto the players. They put more pressure onto the players. Now, I'm not saying that if there is a credible threat to the security of the board that they should have just toughed it out and gone. I don't believe that. But I believe by getting to this situation, by allowing it to get this toxic, this much angst and toxicity around the football club, by not dealing with it earlier, they've now put themselves in a position where they cannot win. And they've fueled the issues. They've made it more intense than it needed to be because they didn't confront it earlier.
It's a mess. And not only can they not win on the pitch, they can't win off it either, as you say. So I don't see where they go from here, Everton. I do have a little bit of sympathy for Moshiri when you hear him speak, because a lot of owners and boards get criticised for not spending money. You can't level that at Moshiri. He spent money badly, and that's why Everton are in the position that they are. As you say, not much money to spend in January. I have done a piece for the Transfer Notebook on talkSPORT suggesting that Mikel Antonio is a potential target. You can understand why Frank Lampard would be attracted to a player like him, but whether they have the finances to get the deal done is open to debate. But I don't think this toxicity is helping anybody. It was always going to be the case that if Southampton could take the game by the scruff of the neck, if they could get themselves on the front foot, then the pressure would be heaped on the players. There'd be murmurings of discontent from the stands. The reason they stayed up at the end of last season was because the football club were united. You remember the supporters creating a real atmosphere of togetherness.
That was Frank Lampard embracing the Goodison Park crowd. There was still problems even then when they were moaning about the board. But Frank brought them in and said, we've got to do this together. They did it. But now we're in a situation with Everton, where there is no way out of this. And sacking Frank isn't going to help. Changing the board isn't going to help. I honestly do not know what is going down and rebuilding like Burnley the only way out of this situation.
Potentially. And I think you felt at the start of the season they were probably too good to go down. I think that's the only way now. I can't really make a case for Everton staying up. I don't think Frank Lampard deserves a free pass, by the way, because there's still some talented players on that pitch that results tell us he isn't getting the best out of. What this angst towards the board and the owners has done is actually really taken him out the spotlight, but I don't think he's necessarily performing to the best of his capabilities either. And it also gives the players a free pass to a certain extent, because Anthony Gordon, Yerry Mina, two of the players we know were confronted by fans after the game. Well, they'll turn around and say, well, stuff it. The fans don't like us anyway. Who cares if we win or not? So I think that could have a very negative impact. It's all very negative in terms of Everton and their problem. And you've mentioned the spending. You look at teams like Wolves, who are having a real go this transfer window. Southampton, who beat them, are ambitious and have already signed a couple of players. They want 2 or 3 more. Bournemouth are going to bring in some players. Nottingham Forest, who are climbing away anyway, they're going to bring in some players. So Everton are in danger of being left behind. I think they're going down.
I think there's another concern here, by the way, and these are allegations, but they are allegations that have been around for a while. There was an investigation conducted into what influence Alisher Usmanov has had on the club. And there have been allegations that he was present in some way, shape or form on several occasions when they hired managers. Now, what is his role? And, what is the financial situation? So, as I say, these are allegations. They still need to be proven. But that is concerning because that's just more uncertainty. Moshiri, yes, he spent, but it's been spent in a scattergun way. There's no real structure. The other thing as well is that I've always felt there are delusions of grandeur at that football club. Yes, they were strong in the 80s, but, there's no divine right for Everton to be in the top half of the Premier League. And so I think that has added to that feeling of entitlement and toxicity.
Well, look, the key thing is the club's not run like a modern day football club. Look at Brighton, look at Brentford, look at the way that Liverpool and Manchester City have done their recruitment. We've spoke about that so many times in the past. You run a football club with strategy, with recruitment departments that know what they're doing and decent coaching. If you don't do those 3 things, then you are in massive, massive trouble.